Well, a Labour government would introduce new regulations around pay for black, Asian and minority ethnic workers. That's according to draft plans for a new Race Equality Act.
Well, let's get to the detail now with the social policy analyst, Dr Rakib Ehsan. Dr Rakib, thank you so much for joining us here on Good Afternoon Britain. On the face of it, this sounds like a good plan. Shouldn't people of different races be treated the same for the same job?
Well, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Tom. But the point I'd make is that I think that when it comes to equality of opportunity, we have existing legislation which promotes that. And crucially, when you look at the Equality Act, which was passed in 2010, race and religious belief both clearly stated as protected characteristics. And on top of that, under the public sector equality duty, local councils, schools, NHS trusts and local police forces, they are required when carrying out their functions to eliminate discrimination, victimisation and harassment, to advance equality of opportunity and to foster good relations between people. So my main issue here is I'm not sure what Labour is actually looking to achieve with this Race Equality Act, when the UK is already one of the leading democracies in the industrialised world when it comes to providing rights, protections and freedoms for its racial, ethnic and religious minorities.
So essentially, Rakib, you're saying it's unnecessary, but can you foresee any unintended consequences that might come about from this legislation?
Well, I think the one thing that I'd be concerned about is if this proposed legislation was then instrumentalised by radical progressive activists, whether it's how to design what's taught in schools, police training. And I think that my main worry is that this might actually undermine equality of opportunity. We've already seen a push from more left-wing radical activists, which in my view is not so much promoting equality of opportunity, but rather pushing for preferential treatment through the prism of racial victimhood. And I think another problem is when you look at pay gaps, there's a variety of factors at play. It could come down to skills, educational qualifications, the number of hours worked. So I think that purely looking at this through the prism of ethnic identity could be hugely problematic further down the line.
Yeah, we've seen cases with regard to equal pay that have seen on the surface of them particularly peculiar in recent years. For example, in Asda, there was a case where mainly people in the back room were men, mainly people on the checkouts were women. These are different jobs, but they faced an equal pay dispute.
Absolutely. And I think what's really interesting, say if you have a white British owned business and then the senior members of that particular business are white British, but they actually look to diversify their organisation by providing training and introducing junior staff with an ethnic minority background, then would you penalise that organisation because they may be pay differentials based on ethnicity when actually it's looking to be a more racially inclusive organisation? That's
a very good question. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry we have to end it there. Dr Rakib Ehsan, social policy analyst.